Hey, John. Happy New Year's Eve.
Happy New Well, look, by the time this goes out, Angie, it's going to be New Year. So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes, I'm very excited. I'm excited. You and I have been talking a bit about, what are we doing for next year? And we thought, today might be the best time to start talking about goal setting. Are you setting goals? Do you make resolutions at this time of the year?
Yeah, I definitely think that's a good topic for us to get into. I don't know about you, Angie, but I am not a big fan of New Year's resolutions. I just feel like they never last, and I've never had much success with them.
It's so funny because I used to look forward. I agree with you now, and I used to be like, it could be like November 15th, and I'd be like, gosh, I can't. This is so ridiculous when I say it, but I can't wait until January 1st so I can start my new goals and intention and all of that. And I'm saying it out loud, going, yeah, that is really ridiculous.
I do think anything that is sort of feels like a milestone, a turn of a year, birthday, especially significant birthdays, um, they are opportunities for us to have a think about where we're heading and what we would like to achieve. But I don't like the new year, new me kind of philosophy of
Yeah.
yeah, you don't really need to become someone else, but there maybe is an opportunity for you to start making some shifts or to think about where you'd like to be, at least think about where you'd like to be by the end of the year.
I mean, I think to some degree, like, so if we're talking business and we're talking personal, I do think that having some goals for the year is not a bad thing, because it really helps with planning strategies and vision and what is it that I really want and or need to accomplish. And I think what I resist is that, well, it has to start on January 1st. Like, obviously, if you're going to start something in January, you need to start thinking about it long before January comes, right? So that you can kind of hit the ground running and think about any corporation, any company that's out there. They start their planning for the following year, fourth quarter. They start thinking about what's going on for the next year. They're always strategizing for what's next. So yeah, I think the specifically the waiting until is my big resistance point. However,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was just going to say there's a reason why the gyms are full for the first 2 weeks of January and not much longer than that, you know?
Well, so okay, so let's get into that. I think so when you make these personal goals for yourself, and I'm not saying that I don't believe in goal setting. I mean, I'm a coach. Of course I believe in goal setting. But I think, kind of romanticizing or sensationalizing or whatever the word actually is, that it has to happen in this year in a specific time doesn't really make a lot of sense. Um, but you and I have been talking about it, right? We're like, what do we want to really accomplish this year? What does it look like? Why is that important? It's a really good time to kind of reassess what happened in this year? What did I love about this year? What do I want to do more of in this year? And what do I need to stay away from this year, for example?
Yeah. No, I have a philosophy on goal setting that has developed and may still evolve beyond where it is right now. But over years of coaching and personal development trainings and all those wonderful things,
Mm,
I realized or recognized myself that a lot of traditional goal setting doesn't really work for me and for many
mm,
people. And I think there are reasons for that. And we've discussed some of them before, but just to kind of recap some of that. Um, One of the things is like we set the goal as the objective. The goal is to get to this end result. And so we decide what that's going to be. And then anything other than that is a failure.
mm. Right.
And
Yeah.
that's the problem of these goals being a pass fail kind of thing. It's like have to hit that goal, have to hit that goal.
Hmm.
There is a number of reasons why that's problematic for us because it creates an attitude of cutting ourselves off from all the other opportunities that may be rising up along the way that could be better, or from evolving along the path of our goal to this fixed idea that we had at the start that probably should change and adapt as we take the journey, and should never look exactly like we might have first imagined it. Because
Yeah.
I think that's really rare. And I think it's been taught that way a lot of the time in the personal development world. But here's one other thing that you have: whatever the goal is, other than very, very short term goals, most people are going to, if we talk about a year long goal or longer, things that might take even longer than a
Yeah.
year to fully come to fruition, then the end result is always going to feel like a long way away when you're not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the real goal, and when I look at goal setting, is really about pointing your nose in the direction that you want to walk. It's about, your compass, really, to choose the direction that you want to go in more than anything else. But
Mm-hmm.
then reverse engineering the
Yeah.
outcome to
Yeah.
know what needs to happen to make that goal a reality. That's the goal. Doing the things that need to happen on whatever basis of consistency that needs to occur, the frequency that's going to be required to achieve the outcome.
Sure.
That's the true goal. Is like, well, becoming the person who does that. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes there's like identity comes into this, but on a practical level, is like, well, what needs to happen, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, to get
Mm-hmm.
to that outcome, or at least move me closer towards it.
Yeah, I think something you said earlier is I'm going to go back, or I'm going to rewind for a minute. I think that, we sabotage ourselves with the pass fail mentality. And it's why we see so many people like, if I'm coaching, when I'm coaching somebody, if I'm coaching, when I'm coaching people and they say, well, I have this goal, this really big goal, or even if it's a small goal. And I always ask, how long has that been a goal for you? Always, because it really indicates to me the mentality, right? The pass, the fail. And I'll say, well, have you made any movement toward it? I'm like, no, I haven't really done that. So how important is that goal? Right? Like we have to assess things, I think, along the way, even for ourselves. So that pass fail, I'm with you. I'm not a fan. And I was stuck in it for most of my life, honestly, and many times felt like a failure. And go, oh, okay, didn't do that. The second thing, though, that I wanted to point to that you're talking about is, it seems far off. So let's just go to like one of the number one goals, resolutions that people make generally around health. I'm stepping a little bit aside, where I'm going,
No,
aside from business for a minute, but I want to lose weight this year. And some people just say, well, I want to lose weight. I just want to be healthier. And still, you're not being definitive enough. You have to be very specific about what that looks like. Ambiguity will lead to I don't want to call it a failure, but you're if you're not clear on where you're going, you're certainly not going to hit the mark. So
right.
there's that. But then the other piece to that is giving ourselves like, so if somebody says to me, well, I want to lose 52, I'm using that number on purpose. If I want to lose 52 pounds this year, that's great. It is far away. And initially we're excited, the novelty, because we're envisioning the end. We're like, oh, if I lose this weight, I will do, be, feel all of these wonderful things. But
Yeah,
what we forget about is the work that goes into getting to that place. And to your other point about setting the smaller goals, we need those. Those are the fuel and the motivation to get us to that bigger picture. If we're not celebrating, it's so 52 pounds, right? 1 pound a week. I want to lose 1 pound per week. And here's why. So at least it's easier to, we can keep an eye on it, right? We can make sure, like, well, that's 1 pound a week. I need to be able to do that to get to my end result. And when I do, that celebration reignites some of the novelty because now it's only 48. Now it's only 44. It really gives us something to look forward to before we get to the end result. So, to your point about the gyms, like they're full on January 1st and maybe the 2nd, and empty on, April 1st and April 2nd, right? They're
well,
not,
yeah,
it's the regular people that are back because they're looking to maintain. They've actually shifted their lifestyle. A goal cannot be temporary. It cannot just be, oh, well, I'm going to go to the gym for a couple of months and that's going to fix everything. And then I can go back to where I was before.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think there's almost a paradox between the two of New Year's resolutions usually are committing to a particular action, like going to the gym or starting your diet or whatever. Goals are usually committing to an outcome in the future.
Hmm.
Um, and it really needs to be a bit of both of those things, I think. So yeah, breaking these things down, great. But what are you actually going to do to get there? It's like, yeah, okay, you want to go to the gym and do that. But I think if you're going from zero to gym 5 days a week, that's going to be hard. You want some build up. So I think it's more helpful to look at the habits and practices that you can start to implement
Hmm.
that are going to get you, or are more likely to get you the end result that you have in mind.
So what do you, I was going to say, so what do you do, right? So outside of like the business piece of it, or even inside the business piece of it, when you're thinking about business in the upcoming year or the personal things that you ever want to do, goal setting in general, okay? What, how do you work it? Like, how do you put that together for yourself?
So here's why I think the focus on end result is the wrong way to do it for me. I focus on, I want the end result. I want to know where I want to head to, or at least some idea of that. That this is where I'd like
Hmm.
to get to. So I have an objective to reach. I know I could be actually sometimes more specific about that as well. So that's
Hmm.
something that could help. But I'm very clear about how I want to get there. So one of the things I thought about, and this wasn't a New Year thing or anything like that. This was like, gosh, I'm thinking it was like autumn year before last that I decided I did want to be doing the gym pretty much daily. Like
I remember.
if
John's
I
a
was going to
swimmer. He
renew,
loves swimming like a guppy.
I love to swim. So I thought, well, let's commit to something that I know I can do. Like ideally, I want to be doing weights 3 times a week or something like that. But I know that I might struggle to get myself out of bed for that. But I don't have to struggle to get myself out of bed to go and swim because I love swimming. And if I go
Mm.
and swim for an hour every day, okay, great. Let's get the habit consistent. And that's who I need to become. That's what I need for the consistency element of that. So that's what I started doing. I'm
Can you
doing
wait? Can
something I
you
knew.
pause there a
Yeah.
second? Because I want to point to what John just said. I think this is so important. I would say at least 50% of the goals that people share with me are to make themselves eat spinach, right? And I'm making fun. To make themselves set the goal to do something they don't like doing. What? No. And we've all been kind of conditioned, like, I'm just going to do it because the goal and reaching the goal is so much more important, right? John loves, I mean, I tell him, come swim in my pool with me because he loves to swim. So there's real motivation and desire to get up. So right out of the gate, he's got at least a 50% higher chance of success and consistency than if he just said, "Oh, I'm going to start like, I don't know, what do you hate doing? Let let's go like
What do I
in the
hate doing
gym."
at the gym? Aerobics. Gosh, I hate the
Okay.
step machine and stuff like that. Running machine.
Okay.
Hate that.
So if he said, "Oh, I'm going to start doing like Zumba or I'm going to start, stair climbing and that's the goal because it's good for my heart and it's great for this and it's not going to work. He is going to fail because he's trying to do something that doesn't even fit in with so I use the spinach. Like if you don't like spinach, don't try to force yourself to eat spinach, right? Don't do that. Do something that's actually workable that you would be like excited about. Get to see John in a Speedo. I'm just saying.
No, no one gets to see me in a speedo. Trust me. Um, no, we're not there.
Anyway, I'm
Uh,
sorry I interrupted, but that was a great point.
yeah,
Like
sorry
you
for that
have to do
mental
what you
imagery
love.
world, but yeah, to a point. And this is the thing is that this is not necessarily going to apply to every single goal that you have, but I think in the most cases it probably does. And I'll explain
Realistic.
I'll explain what I mean. But yeah, 'cause building on a habit that I've already developed consistency with
Mhm.
is a lot easier. So if I did want to do step, I build on that habit once I've established it. Once I'm
Mhm.
going every day, once I'm doing that with enough regularity that I'm not skipping weeks or months or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Um, then I know I can start adding in some stuff that I might not love so much, but I know is going to help, which is kind of what happened. Because then I started thinking, oh, let's start doing some weights a couple of days a week, and then build that up to, all right, let's do weights 3 days a week now. So I weights 3 days a week, swimming
Mhm.
2 days a week. That's what works for me now. But it took a long time to get there. But
Right.
the goal really was for me to become consistent with it,
Right.
and that was really more of the goal than the health outcomes come with that. Like, I have an idea of where I want to get to, but the real goal was doing the things that are going to get me that kind of outcome. And so sometimes those things might be things you don't love so much. I think business goals, you might need to be getting onto prospecting calls or doing some marketing and sales stuff, and you might not love doing that. So, like, well, okay, you don't just want to be filling your time with the stuff that you want to do, but you do need to figure out what's going to really be moving the needle for me with my business over the next
Yes.
year,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how can I become consistent with that. So if you have a business objective, that where you'd at least where you think you'd like to be by the end of the year, you can start to work backwards from that and then think, oh, what are the activities that are going to help get me to that
Yeah.
result? Because the chances are it's not just randomly creating content or sitting on your emails or whatever else, or scrolling through Instagram that most of us spend a lot of our time doing. So what will actually get you there? And then you can start to look at, well, the real goal is applying the frequency and consistency of those activities that generate the kind of outcome that you would like to have by the end of it. Does that make sense? Am I
Yeah, no,
explaining this
I
well?
mean, it's a lot, but I think it's definitely the idea of the incremental, choosing what, like, so even in your business, for example, we all know I still despise administrative work. And any business, and I've had many that I've had in my life, I've always been successful, right? By my personal standards, maybe not to, Google, right? To their standards, but to mine, certainly. And when I look back and I think about, so for when I think about next year, for example, and I think about my goals, like what do I want to do? What do I need to accomplish? The thing I knew last year, and you and I talked about this, the greatest thing I have ever done for myself was to get an assistant, because my businesses in the past would have probably been exponentially more successful if I had given away the control, which is a whole other that's a whole other conversation, but B, like recognizing that it was really like trying to swim, since we're in that mode, with weights on my ankles. It was really dragging me down. It was costing me time, energy, resources. So I mean, again, I have no crystal ball, but I would venture to guess, especially since, the success that I had in this year, knock on wood, I'm so grateful for that. But I know that part of that is because I didn't have the weight of even doing all of the things, right? Whether it's social media, conversations, emailing, all of the things that we do, and having somebody that does most of it for me. I just want
Right.
to show up and be me and have the conversations and talk about my product, and it changed everything. It changed. So I don't know if everybody's going to experience that same type of outcome, but I think it's just an examination of what do I need? Where is the impact going to be? Where am I going to feel that ripple effect the most? And for me, it was administratively in my business. I was like, I need to step away from this. I'm not great at it because I can't stand it. I have no interest. You know what John told me? You know what John had the nerve to say to me before we spoke in our last recording? He's hoping that part of my resolutions for next year was for me to up my game with my recording devices, etc. Can you imagine the
I
nerve?
did say that.
But wait, so I'm joking with him because he knows I agree with him wholeheartedly. I recognize that, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you, I'm on camera, and I even make my own videos. So for my next year, right, for this year coming, I definitely need to. And wait, but let me tell you what the resistance is. My resistance isn't because I don't want to. It's when I start to do the research, because I'm not so savvy on like what works, what doesn't work. I start looking and finding it becomes noise. And you know what Angie does? Nope, done. Click off, shut the laptop. I'm done with the noise. So recognize what you resist, right? It doesn't matter what it is. If you're resisting spinach, don't try to eat the spinach. Now, in some cases, like mine, it would behoove me to have better technology in my office. I don't disagree. And I have to commit to doing that. And it's important. I can keep fumbling along, but I want this to be the best experience for everybody. So if I'm committing to one thing, I need to commit to how I'm doing that. So I brought it up just because John and I had that conversation very candidly, and he didn't tell me anything I didn't already know, right? So so I think like when you're thinking about personal or professional goals, it's what's the need and what's going to make the greatest impact. I don't so I choose words too. I don't know if I
We talked
taking a
about this
kick
last
at
time.
that.
Yeah, yeah, I do as well. I have that practice, and
I
I love
love
it.
to choose words, yes, and say like, so next year. So what's your word for next year? What's
Oh,
your word from this day forward forever?
for next year, it's presence. But there's a lot tied up with that because I was kind of thinking. I was thinking the other day about this. I think, well, I kind of feel it needs to be presence and practice. Like I want to be really committed to polishing my art as a speaker, as a stand-up comic, or I really want to show up on stage polished and prepared. And then I was thinking, actually, all that kind of, for me, that all comes in under presence. Those are the things that help me prepare to be more present when I'm on stages so that I have more flexibility. I can improvise
Mm,
more. I feel more confident and that I can be more present when I'm more practiced and prepared. So all of that is to me inbuilt into having that one word for the year. So I don't
sure.
need more than one word.
Yeah.
I recognize that presence means more than just being present and aware I certainly want that in my
Yeah.
relationships, my connections, my conversations, all of that.
Absolutely.
Sure, but there's so much more to it, and it covers a lot for me. That it's
Yeah.
like, okay, this is about being present and being ready to be present. I have to take responsibility for making sure that I'm set up to be present. So I have to think about what are the things that are going to support me in that. And that's rehearsal, preparation, proactivity, and more besides. And so, yeah, there's a lot tied up in that. I know you shared last time that one of your words on personal was no, which I think was great. But have you thought of a word for yourself for the next year?
Peace, definitely peace. And it's so funny because to your point, I thought about, what do I really need? What do I need the most? Of course I could always be more present. I can always do, but I wanted something that was going to your point again, have this overarching theme and cascade right into all of the places of my life. And it includes my business, not taking on too much work. I habitually will take on more and more and more because, that was what I was taught back in the 80s. Do as much as you can and break your back doing it, and to no matter what, no matter the cost. So I think if I can just and it's also just peace, like in terms of like what quiet is, enjoying more quiet. I have a lot of family on the East Coast, and I love first thing in the morning. They're a few hours ahead of me, getting on the phone while I'm, doing things and saying hello and staying in touch. And that connection's very, very important to me. However, I still need my quiet time in the morning. I shouldn't. So anyway, so peace has, to your point, like multiple meanings, and it's got so many levels of depth to it. And removing as much noise as possible. Like, like make it stop, make it go away. There's politics, there's religion, there's hate, there's all of that. And I don't want to get into all of that today, but like just on like even the news, like, nope. If it makes me anxious or brings about, feelings of anxiety or discomfort, and I'm not being a snowflake here, by the way, I just don't want it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. So anything that will protect my peace is welcomed. Anything or anyone that kind of tries to erode that, I think
Mm,
it just doesn't belong here.
I
And
love
that's a
that.
big one for me.
I love that. Yeah. And again, there's so much in it for you that you could just say the word and it would mean something different to someone else. But and like present for me, it will mean something else to somebody else. Um, so we must define for ourselves and choose our word and define what does that really mean for it, what's incorporated within that. I did this exercise with my group coaching clients last night, and they loved it. We did a whole closing off the year, because next week we're going to be doing some goal setting, but I feel that we do need to review where we've been to be able to draw the line
Mhm.
under it, take the lessons, decide what we're
Of
taking with
course.
us into
Yeah.
the future and what we're leaving in the past, and then draw the line, and then we have more clarity for setting our goals as for where we want to go, what we want to do, how we want to do it, how we plan to show up when we're doing all of that. So I think we do need to take a little time for reflection and review before we move forward with goal setting anyways.
Let
Um,
me ask you a question with that,
yeah,
though. What would be the biggest for you personally, and personally, professional, whatever? Like, what is your biggest lesson, or what is the biggest thing? I'm sure there's a few things that you would like leave behind from this year.
gosh. This might just be because it's on my mind, because I just put out an episode for my other show about remote work, and so much of that was about distraction. But I just
Mm,
recognized myself so much in the things we were talking about of really where distraction still affects me, and um, the guy I was talking to, we were talking about how the so much of like social media and media in general is just designed to steal your attention,
right.
and just by applying gentle focus practices, and even coming together with other people who are focusing with you, and putting in a little friction around some of the things that we otherwise do very easily, to allow a bit more conscious awareness. It's like, all
Hmm.
right, that is something that would be for most of us transformative. And it's like I certainly had practices along that before, but I feel like it's time to recommit to that. So yeah, I want to leave behind distractions and social media addiction. I would like to leave that behind.
So funny that you say that, because I don't think I've actually decided yet. Like, what is it that I really need to leave behind? And I think it all does fall under the peace piece of it for me. But interestingly, I spent some time yesterday reviewing my like budget and doing things, I like to figure things out that way. And that's a little more specific for me, but when I'm making a plan. But interestingly, um, I was like, gosh, how many subscriptions do I have?
I've
So to
been
your
through all that this year. Yeah.
gosh, because I never really paid attention. And I mean, I'm talking like anything from like Netflix to Zoom to, and so I was like, first of all, I had to locate everything because I just, have things like everybody. I'm like, oh, I need this for my website. I need this for hosting. I need this for this. And you just do what you need to do, right? Some of it you want to do, some of it you need to do. But I had no clue what I had, where I had it, and how much I was really spending on it. Um, so I took some time yesterday to the tune of like 2 to 2.5 hours just to locate everything because it's not all being charged to the same place. Some of it's personal. You would be. So I needed to like start weeding out my garden a little bit. I'm spending at least on everything like $500 to $600 a month. Yes. So I decided, I go, you know what? Do I really, really need X, Y, and Z? Right. So I have to actually make those decisions and cancel subscriptions and say to myself, like, do you really need that? Is it wanting to have it? You know, some of it's necessity and some of it's just nonsense. I'm being very honest with you. But I would say that was a really nice cleansing of the business and personal stuff for a minute because I just, if nothing else, it's an awareness of how much money I was wasting and like definitely adding to the the noise, right?
Yeah.
So the distraction, the how do you not know how much money you're spending on things? I would say if you have a
Most people
business,
don't. Most
you
people
should.
don't. Especially, yeah, especially if they're comfortable. I must admit, I started off doing this years ago when I started with my own business. I didn't even have a separate business account. Everything was kind of lumped in together.
Mm,
Which I definitely don't recommend, but I still encounter many people who I work with who
yeah,
have that situation. It's one of the first things I say is like, please separate your business account from your personal
absolutely.
and start managing them. And I go through with processes with them of how to manage their personal accounts
Right.
and how to manage their professional accounts because most people don't know how to do that. And it's really not that complicated, but it's kind of tedious. It's boring. It's the stuff that people don't want to do, but the yield from that, as you are realizing today, just even going through and knowing where your money's going will wake you up to where there's opportunities to save money. And to be honest, so many people don't have any kind of investments or anything whatsoever. But if you saw that you were spending, I don't know, $100, $200 or more on subscription services each month,
Mm-hmm.
and then you recognize, well, maybe don't even use half of them or hardly ever, you could probably get rid of a bunch of them and maybe just like do what I do now with streaming services. Like we'll have one for several months, and then when I've watched everything I want to watch there, we can close that and take another one. It's like you don't need to have all of these subscriptions at the same time, but
Sure.
you do need to keep track of them. But you don't necessarily need to say, all right, everything goes. We
But
don't
you
have to
can
clean
also,
house completely.
right, but be aware anyway. If
Yeah,
nothing else, all right, be aware of what is happening. And if you're saving, because when I looked at this list, I was like, oh, I could save an awful lot of money and reinvest that in a great way into yourself, into your
exactly.
business.
Invest
Get
it.
a gym
Yeah.
subscription. Go to the gym if you want. If you don't have a gym membership, I mean, or put it away or put it toward marketing. But
Right.
definitely create some awareness. If you've been around a while, even in your personal life, even if you don't have a business yet, right, and you're thinking about becoming a coach, it is so easy as a coach to look at all the shiny objects and all the offerings of, hey, we're going to help you, and if you spend this, we'll save you that, and it gets to be very, very noisy. But to John's point, which I stepped left of center, definitely removing distractions, I think is super important for us, all of us, is there's good, you know what? I think first day with my new tongue. Not every distraction is a bad or obviously negative distraction. There
Sure.
are positive distractions. So, you know, I'm I'm making this up. So if you have children that are young, don't come at me. But I have a professional that I work with on the regular who works from home, works remote, and homeschools. You know, his wife homeschools and he works from home. Constantly screaming, constantly people running in the background. And I'm thinking, you have a childcare problem right now, right? Like, that's a huge distraction, even though it feels like it's not a bad thing. It's still a distraction for you every time you have to turn around and say, "Hey," again, I'm going a little extreme on that, but look for things that are disguised as positive and eliminate them.
Yeah. Um, Eliminate's quite a strong word to use there, but I'd say at least
Well, I guess I'm thinking about this one, like, get them out of the camera, okay? Just saying.
find a way to manage these things. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
100% with you. Is like we can find ways to manage. We can manage distractions. We can try and work in. We can try pomodoros or something like that. We can try blocks of deep work, or we can try and say, all right, I think a lot of people, especially if you work remotely, you sit at your computer a lot of time and think, what am I going to do? Well, pick one, two, three things that you're going to do that's the most important that will actually make a difference to your business and work on getting those done first. And give yourself, if you can, give yourself an hour to get started. Maybe
Sure.
give yourself another hour. Give yourself a distraction break of like, put a timer on 5 minutes, take a walk, go on Instagram, whatever you want to do. But then the alarm goes off and you're back to it. I think we can find ways to manage these things, but
Yeah.
it does take conscious effort to do that. And that's where the problems start to come in, is like our brains would rather run everything on automatic, not have to think about things, mindlessly go through life. It's much less effort for us. But as soon as we start to apply conscious awareness, we can have different choices available to us and different results available to us because of that. So the thing, here's the thing, I think sort of one of my closing thoughts with this is like, nothing's going to change if you don't change anything. So
Absolutely.
you have to think what needs to change? Who do I need to become? How do I need to show up to get the kinds of results that I want to create in my life? And if you can answer those
Yeah.
questions, your goal setting is already pretty much taken care of.
Absolutely. You just have to then fill in the blanks and be a little more specific about it. But I think it's been one heck of a year. I think John and I, um, little celebration, right? It's so funny. He and I were debating how long we've been we've been actually recording the podcast, and I was like, "It's 2 years," and he's like, "I don't think it's been. It feels like it's been
Year and a
longer,
half,
but
about a year and a half, yeah.
yeah." So it's been really really great, and thank you to everybody who's been listening and following us and commenting and all of that. We love that. We
Yeah.
love
And for our
listening
new
to what you have to
listeners as
say.
well, if you're new to the podcast, we're happy to have you along for the ride as well. So welcome to you too.
Yeah. So I guess you guys will be hearing this in 2026.
Yeah, and we look forward to connecting with you in the future, which is where 2026 is for us right now at time of recording. But may it be your best year yet, and we want to be part of helping you make sure it is. So join us for future episodes.
Absolutely.
Do you have a question for the coaching clinic?
Reach out on LinkedIn to connect with Angie and John.
Leave us a voicemail or video message and we will feature you on the show.
You can also leave up to 90-second voicemail for free on www.speakpipe.com/the Coaching Clinic podcast.
We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.
Bye for now.